Alright, welcome back to DIY Willy. Today is day 2 of the Predator 212 build that we've got going on. I hope to make some good ground today. I've done a few things behind the scenes. I've already got the governor holes tapped out, and the screw is in there. It's tight. I haven't put any Loctite yet, but they are tapped out for 1/4-20s. I like to use these this type of head rather than the bolt head. I like to use this better than the bolt head up there. I just think it looks better, smoother, especially on this side. I think it looks better. Now normally I have some that are a little bit smaller. They don't look quite so big, but hey, it works. It'll be fine. Besides, you don't see this anyway. It'll be covered up by the flywheel, and this one will be covered up by the engine plate. You won't see them. I did tap the side where the oil level switch was, where the wires were coming through the block. I tapped it for a 7/16 20 bolt. Right now, the bolt is too long, and it does hit the crank. Not by much though, just by a little bit. But I couldn't find a shorter one. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the bolt out and cut it down where I've made the black mark there. I don't know if you can see that, but I've put a black mark on the bolt, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it there and clean up the threads, and then I'll Loctite that in there as well. I've also drilled out the center hole on the block, the one that's down inside there, as you can see right there where my finger is. I drilled that out to be 1/4 inch. That just allows for the oil return better, you know, the flow and the pressures. It looks like I might have scarred that a little bit. I'll have to fix that. But yeah, I've got a lot of the block preparation done already. As you can see, I've got a lot of shavings in there. I need to get the block good and cleaned out and get it ready for reassembly. I would like to paint this block, and it's always my idea to paint this black, the flat engine color black, and then take my Dremel and go over the fins and make the fins, you know, the polished look. I've wanted to do that for some time with an engine, and I think it would be possible to do it. I think it would look nice, you know, be worthy of it. I'm going to have the billet side cover on here, so the black would look really good with the billet side cover. So yeah, the cylinder, crosshatch, you know, everything looks really good in there. It's well oiled, so I'm not worried about it rusting right now. Everything looks really good. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then I can take the drain bolts out and go ahead and wash the block out, and yeah, I'll think about painting it. Think about painting it black. We've got the other parts. We've got the hardware bagged over here. I was going to separate it all and bag and tag it, you know, and keep it where it goes, but I know where it goes. I don't need to tag it all out. This miscellaneous governor parts are all bagged up just so I keep them and things are kind of where they're supposed to be. That's the original head. The new 14cc head is still in the crate. I have to get it out and do the work to it that I want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and get the block done with the piston in, the rod, and the crank before we move on to the head. Yeah, I think it's a good time to get started again, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut that bolt first. We'll take the drain plugs out and wash the block really good. We have Super Clean to help us degrease it a little bit and make sure we get all the bits and pieces of aluminum out of it. And we'll take the air compressor and blow it out, and then re-oil the bearing and the cylinder, and prep it for parts to go back in it. All right, let me get going. Check it out. I got the block all cleaned up. I got all the shavings out. I blew everything out with air. Cleaned out the oil drains on both sides. Washed out the cylinder. Made sure everything was nice and clean. Degreased it. And went ahead and re-oiled the bearing and re-oiled the cylinder. So that they do rust. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they will rust. And I want to just make sure that while I'm doing this assembly and this build, that things stay as clean as possible. So yeah, now we're ready to put the plugs back in and Loctite them out, and we'll work on the piston, putting the rings in, and putting the rod together and putting the piston back in. I should, however, check the oil clearances on the rod and the crank. You know, we got to do that still. I'll have to put it in a vise to do that, and I'm not going to show that. There's enough of videos online showing how to do that. I'll torque it down and double check it, and then we can get it over here for the assembly. Let's go ahead and put the drain plugs back in. There's two of them, as you know. They've got the little washer here that helps seal it. We'll put those in, and that's a 10mm. I'm just gonna run them in with this, like that. Those are in. Now we'll get the big one on the back. Now I went out, I bought some more Loctite. I wanted red, because these are permanent bolts. But unfortunately I couldn't get red. I couldn't find any locally to me. I don't know why. That's everybody's buying red Loctite. So I've got blue. And well, it'll work too. It'll seal up. It'll do everything I need it to do. I'm going to really cake it in, you know, really load it up, because I want this to not only be a Loctite, you know, to seal the threads, but also to or to lock the threads rather, but also to seal the threads so we don't get oil leaks. So I'm gonna really cake it in there. And I want this stuff, man, I want this stuff to work good. That's good. Well, that's really the main modifications we do to the block. We drilled it out, removed the governor, plugged the holes, removed the oil sensor, plugged that hole, and cleaned it up. You know, it's good to go now. You could say it's ready for reassembly. You know, get all the good shiny new parts in it. And we're gonna check for clearances on the cam and the crank a little later on too. I want to make sure that I have that my piece that will align. I have a little plastic piece from OMB Warehouse that will align, goes here across here, and it'll align the crank. Now I don't expect to have clearance issues with this engine. The only place it may have clearance issues is the cam and the rod. I'm thinking the rod, this is a 308 cam, and I may have to clearance it along the sides of the rod as the rod moves around the block. The cam lobes might hit the rod. Let's move on to checking that rod, the oil clearances on the bearing, and move on. All right, guys, so I was working on the piston ring because I need to get the plastic gauge for the rod. I don't have the plastic gauge, so I've got to get some. So looking at this, I wanted to check the gap on the rings. Now this chrome ring or polish ring, however you want to look at it, black with a silver sign, it's got DY on it for the piston that I have. And you want to put the DY towards the top. And how I put them in is I'll take them like this, and I'll just push them in to the cylinder like that, and just roll it in. Just roll it in. Watch. You see, I just push it in cylinder, and I just kind of roll them down. Then I can take the piston and make sure that there's, I guess, square, you know, as I can in there. Now I have an 8/1000 feeler gauge, and I'm gonna go right in the gap. I don't know if you can see the gap, but I'm gonna go right inside 8/1000, and it's got ever so lightly a little bit of drag at 8/1000. Can you see that? You see it on this camera? 8/1000 right there. Got just 8/1000, just a little bit of drag on it. What I can find is 8/1000 is good, but there's a tolerance in there, and well, I'm gonna go with 8/1000. Now as the cylinder and the rings and everything, I'll call it break in, as they bed in or break in, they'll open up that gap a little bit because you'll wear off the ring material with the cylinder. They'll bed in together, and your gap, instead of being closed, will open up slightly. So you'll get a little bit more than 8 thousandths. That's why they say you can go to 4 thousandths end gap, and as your cylinder wears in, it'll open up a little bit, and it'll be closer to that, you know, 6 or 7, maybe 5 thousandths gap, and it's within tolerable measurements. I don't have all the specific calipers and tools to really dial in the cylinder, figure out if it's really true, round, all this kind of stuff. You know, it's a clone engine. I can only assume that it's as round as it's going to be. I'm not going to pay to have it machined and make sure it's round, new piston, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm also not checking the clearances between the bore and the piston. It should be about 2 thousandths or 3 thousandths. I'm just going to call it good. These parts are all you know, built in factories that, you know, who knows if they're that tolerant, if the tolerances are that good. But there's so many built, there's enough tolerance and built into it that it's gonna be fine. I'm not building a race engine that I'm gonna, you know, take out there and run it at 100% and then bring it home and break it down and, you know, do repairs on it, inspections on it, and then take it out and run it again an hour or so later. This is just my mini bike engine that I ride every so often when I get a chance. So I think my ring gap at 8 thousandths is going to be perfect. I'm going to finish putting these rings on. If you look at the kit like I have, the next ring is the ring with the D on it. And this ring is a cast ring, so it's really brittle. It can break. You want to kind of set it in with the D on the top. Spike. Put it in its spot and gently work it around. Hopefully not breaking it. Just like that. Oh, one more spot. Come on, ring. There we go. We got it without breaking it. Look at that. The D's on top. We're good. The next one is the DY. We'll do the same thing. We're just going to slip it in. Just going to slip it in the spot like that. And just kind of work it around. And it'll go right into place. Just like that. Look at that. Now we have the piston ready. The rings are installed. Now we're going to, if you look at the piston, you've got the triangle facing down. So you want to put one of your rings this side, like 120 out. A ring over here, a ring gap over here, and a gap down here. So you got 3 rings. You're going to space out your gaps like that. That will make sure you get good good compression, good sealing. Now these rings, from what I understand, as your engine moves, your piston goes up and down, vibration, blah blah blah, whatever, these rings can tend to move a little bit. They'll rotate in the bore, and that will change your gap orientation. But when you install it, it's always the best idea to have it at that 120 out. We'll put one here, like between 10 and 11 over here, between 1 and 2 over here, and at 6 on the bottom. So the piston is ready to go. And yeah, we're moving along. I just need to get that plastic gauge. I've already got the bearing installed, but we need to check the oil clearances, and we'll get that thing installed. So yeah, here we go. All right, I've already checked the I put the bearings in. I've checked the oil clearance on the crankshaft. We come up perfect. I'll put a picture in it here somewhere. Now it's time to put the rod in the piston. Put the piston and the rod together. We got these little C-clips or circlips, whatever you want to call them, and they line up right here in these little grooves. You set them down inside the little groove. There's a groove inside. We want to get that little ring inside there. Now if you see that the opening of the groove, or the opening of the ring right now, is right here on that opening in the piston. That's to help remove it if we ever to. We don't want it right there. We want to be able to kind of move it out of the way, push it up so to speak, so that there, that's perfect. I don't know if you can see that, but I kind of rolled it up out of the way. I don't want the opening, the gap right there. It probably wouldn't hurt, but we don't want to risk having it come out. So I'm just going to use some oil to assemble it. I have some assembly lube, and we may use this later, but for right now, I've just got some oil. We're going to coat the wrist pin, and we'll coat the rod inside. Move it around, really get it good. And then we put the C-clip on this side. So I'm going to push it through this way. You know what? I need to make sure I have the orientation of the rod correct. I forgot to verify that. So on the rod, we've got a little dot indentation. And on the match side, we have a little dot right there. So those dots go together. And the dipper, you remember, goes on the side of the arrow. So we know that the dipper is going to go this way. So we'll put that back in there. We'll pull this out. And we'll stick that in there like that. Now it won't go in any further because of we put the clip in there already. So now we'll put the clip on the other side. And we'll be golden. Well, there we go. Our piston and rod are one. And it's about time to stick it down in that cylinder again. I'm going to leave the crankshaft out for the moment. I can always push the piston back up and find that position again with the crank. So, I have a tool for this. It worked out great for the 224cc. It's a ring compressor. Like I said, it worked out great for the 224cc. Just make sure it's clean. These aren't the best towels to use. They leave lint behind, but we'll do it. And we'd want to lube this up with some oil, slip the piston in there, and this is tapered so it'll press the rings in as it goes down. So we need to line those rings up. And remember, we talked about them being at like 10, 11 o'clock and 1 and 2 o'clock and then dead on 6. So I'm going to put the top ring down at 6. The second ring at 2. And then the other 2 rings over at, see if I find them. They're not exactly the same. Let me get them the same. Get it around over here. That's about good. That's about good. Make sure they're not overlapped. Okay, I think that's about right. Everything's in their place. Yeah. Now we can put some oil in here. Man, this thing squirts the oil out all over my phone. Shouldn't have had my phone there. There we go. With that all oiled up nice, let me move my phone. I was stupid enough to leave it right there. Okay, now we're gonna put some oil in the rings. Lube up the piston really good. I want to verify that my rings are in the same spot. Yep, they look good. And we'll set it down into the compressor. And press it out to where the skirt comes out. Put a little more oil in the cylinder. Never hurts to have too much lubrication, right? Now with the triangle pointed down, carefully stick it in there. Just like that. There we go. It worked that time. We got it. Piston is inside. All right, so the piston's in, the rod's in. I've put the crank in. I've got the rod, last piece of the rod to go in. Got the hardware over here somewhere. But I want to lube it up. I was using the oil, but you know what I found? The oil, it doesn't stay on the parts very well. I'd rather use the assembly lube. It has a little more stickiness to it, and it stays on the parts better. So I think I'll go ahead and assemble a rod with assembly lube, and we'll get this show going, you know. I'll just stick it back like this so I can get a nice clean shot down inside on the bearing. I'm going to put some assembly lube on the top half of the bearing, and then I'll put it on the bottom half, and then of course around the journal, and we'll put that rod cap on. Just give a little bit in here like this, coat it pretty thoroughly. You know, you want a lot of lubrication, man. You don't want these parts, to be dry. Keep lots of rags around. Okay, there's that part. And I got the bottom half. We'll go ahead and put some lubrication on there, just like so. Spread it around. Spread it around. You never have too much, in my opinion. Put the cap on. Now I've already torqued, as we said before, I've already torqued this cap on the rod to the 170 inch-pounds. That was to seat the bearing and to check for the oil clearances, you know. And we're good. So here's the bolts. You got to be careful with these little washers that are on them. They're tapered. They fit in one way. You don't want to lose those washers or have them fall off and put them on the wrong way. I've got a little bit of the 1040 oil right here, or is it 1030, I think. I'll go ahead and put some on there. Rag. So because I'm using the oil, you torque to 170. All right, so we've got 170. This is the final torque. I've already went over it once. And I just want to show that it's there. Hold the block. Hey, it's there. Perfect. All right. One more thing done. Now what we need to do is get this area cleaned up and go ahead. Oh, I gotta take the tension off. Always store your torque wrench zeroed out without any tension. You can actually wear out the springs and stuff inside. It's the best idea. Good tool tip, you know. All right, here we go. 308 cam, dyno cams. There's a lot of question whether this cam is going to work for me or not. As I was mentioning earlier, there could be a problem with obviously clearancing here, which is no problem. We did that with the 224 where we cleared everything. May hit the rod. We can clearance for the rod too. Then there's the question, maybe my valve choice is not long enough. I may need to go to, I think, a 70 millimeter longer valve, I think it is. And possibly even different push rods. But we'll find out. We're definitely going to check it out. This is my 2-degree timing key, so I can get that flywheel to match this 308 cam. This thing wants to have 34 degrees timing rather than the 32 degrees that the 265 or 264 wants, or 260 whatever, 265. This is 308. So yeah, we're going to 34 degrees before top dead center. So we're going to have it. Question is, will it work for me? Am I going to have a problem with the head the valve spring seat pockets, the valve spring pockets. There we go. The valves, just everything. There's so many variables in this that I didn't take into account. You know, I knew there had to be clearancing for some parts, but not, you know, not as much as I've got going on right now. So this is a lesson in engine building for me. But we're gonna throw it together and see what we got. See where it is. I got a lot of cams now. I need to start marking the cams, what they are and what engine they're for. I've got too many everywhere, you know. And yeah, we need to start making note of what's what. Now I don't have the lifters in there. This is just to check for clearances. You know, we don't want to have... Perfect. Perfect. Dots are lined up. We'll put some oil. I got my my handy dandy tool here somewhere. I know I brought it out here. For aligning keeping the cam aligned. Not up there. What'd I do with it? So I've got my alignment tool installed with the cam from OMB Warehouse. This helps keep everything aligned, and you can see really clear in there what's going on. Now that I'm going to be putting a billet side cover on this, I'll have the side cover that I can trim and make the right tool for the job. And right now this is working perfectly. Piston goes up and down, not any issue. Keep the cam pushed in. I don't hear any clanking or banging, or, you know, it looks like it clears pretty good. I think we're golden. The next question will be right here on the head. Are my valves gonna hit the piston? Are my rockers gonna be in the right geometry? My push rod's gonna be long enough? Are my valves long enough? Am I gonna have coil bind? You know, those are all the questions we've got to answer. I do kind of want to put the side cover on right now. I think we're good. But, you know, there's a couple things we've got to do. We've got to put the lifters in there and then oil it up, and then we could put the side cover on. And maybe we'll do that right now. You know, that might be a good idea. That way at least the short block is done, you know. Then it's all a matter of just getting the headwork done. The headwork is going to be probably a video all on its own, because I want to port the head, I want to clean it up. And you know, this cam suggests running 32-pound springs, and I couldn't find 32-pound springs. I found 36-pound springs, but the 36-pound springs are double springs. I think there might be a single set out there, but for right now they're double springs. My double springs won't fit the head. They have a problem with the head. There's little guides, I guess, for the springs, I don't know what you would call them, that stick up from the head, from the spring pocket, and it actually gets in the way of the double spring. So I don't think the double springs will work without machining that little area down, which I could do. I could take my Dremel and cut it down. There's some valve seat cutters you can get, and if I have to resort to that, then I will. I was going to try, I've read online places where the people or other guys are using the 26-pound springs with the 308 cams, and they say there's no problem. You may just get valve float with the 26-pound springs. Now this is, like I've been saying before, this is not like a high-end race engine. This engine is it's gonna be in mighty, and you know, it might see 7,000 RPM or 7,500. If it possibly can reach 8,000 RPM, it wouldn't be there very long. It's not going to be a crazy build engine like that, you know. That's not what I'm doing here. I would love for it. I would love to be on a racetrack and be able to take advantage of some of these parts I've got in here. But I just want a good, dependable, strong engine, you know, that will serve me right, you know. Well, there's top dead center. There's the dots lined up. I'm going to go ahead and pull the cam out. We'll get the lifters installed, and we'll prep it for the side cover. I think we're okay in that position right now. All right, let me get things cleaned up, and we'll get those lifters out. All right, I've got the billet lifters here. I'm going to try to install them. Now there's some question also about these and how they're made, that they could stick in the lifter bores. And what they're talking about is this area right here. This radius here is different than the stock ones, and they can get stuck in here if pushed in too hard, where they're really hard to come down. I guess that's where the 32-pound springs would be great, because they would definitely probably push that down. But yeah, that is a bit of concern. I'm going to give it a shot. I have the stock ones if I need them, but you know, I really want to use these and hope for the best. I did kind of chamfer this out a little bit before. When I drilled the hole, I chamfered all of them, all three of them, just for better oiling. And well, let's see how we did. We'll put some more assembly lube on them, get them good and lubed up. We'll stick them in the bore. Ah, come on, Willie. Very good. Very, very, very good. Now we can put the cam back in. And look at that side cover. I think we're doing really good here, guys. All right, check it out. So because we found that steel wool, that dirt in the cam, even though it was brand new, we pulled out our super clean, biodegradable, tough task cleaner degreaser in the new Easy Spray aerosol can. We're gonna go ahead and use this to clean up that camshaft and get it ready for install. You can see, oh wow, all right. Well, we'll just spray it on like this. We'll allow it to sit for a little bit. We're just gonna spray it on like this. We'll allow it to sit and we'll rinse it off. All right, so we used our super clean degreaser. Get in there, make sure everything's nice and clean. I rinsed it out. Used my air cleaner, my air compressor to blow it out. Went in with a little bit of carb cleaner just to make sure everything was perfect. Now we can lubricate it back up, some mineral oil, some oil all over it, and stick it back in the engine. All right, so we got the cam here. I'm gonna put some more assembly lube all over it. Get it all done up nice here. Get a lot of it on the mechanism. For the compression release, really soak that up. Really get it on there good around where everything goes. Yeah, this is looking nice. We'll put some oil in there too before we close it up. Got the assembly lube. Our dots are in the right place. I'm gonna send her home. Perfecto. Alright, so in preparation for the side cover, I've got the new oil seal on the crankshaft, and I've got the O-ring put around the outside. And I just trimmed the excess with a razor blade. Oh, here it is. With a razor blade, just right here on the edge. I always want your seam or your butt for the seal to be at the top, not on the bottom of the sides. Put it at the top. You're less likely to get an oil leak that way. So there's a couple of dowel pins that go on, and we'll put those in right now. Make sure our surface is nice and clean. And we'll button her down. Oh, I want to put some assembly lube up here on these parts. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use these bolts, and they'll be perfect. We'll just run them in. I can put a little oil on them just to help with the threads. That'll help with the torque too. We'll get this side cover torqued down think it was 219 or 200 and something inch-pounds. It's quite a bit. My torque wrench doesn't go that high on the inch-pounds, so what I'll have to do is figure it out. Possibly use my large torque wrench to get these down. What the heck? Oh, there's one more. I was thinking, what the heck? I'm missing one. I'm not. It's right here. I left it in the bag. Well, my camera's about out right now. It's at 7%. So I'm pretty sure that this will be the end of today's build. I'll go ahead and get these torqued down to specification. And then we can resume this tomorrow after I charge the batteries. I'll get the area cleaned up. And we'll get the head ready to go. So let's double check that. Let's see. Yeah, 210 inch-pounds. So we'll get that figured out what that is in foot-pounds and knock that out. Then I'll put the plugs in and you know, this thing will be ready to go. Then all we got to do is work on the head. That's all we got left. All right, guys. That's where I got to end it today because I'm about to run out of battery. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out my videos. Hope you're enjoying the build of this 212. I know there's hundreds of them out there on the internet, thousands of them probably, but this one's done Willy style, and I'm really having a good time. I'm not trying to document everything. I'm just trying to put it together and have a good running engine. So thanks for coming. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please always come back to DIY Willy for your small engine needs, your mini bikes, and fun stuff like that. These 79cc, we got the 224 hanging out. We're just having a good time here, getting this stuff put together. So I'll see you next time. Bye.